Tipping Point, a Jax X Reader one-shot written by One Cole on AO3. Your cry was muffled by the pillow held tightly to your face as you kicked and thrashed, bunching your poor covers into one side. Jax sat idly on the edge of your bed, uncharacteristically behaved as he listened to your frustrations, an almost daily occurrence since you had caught him snooping around your room and decided he was good enough to rant to, and he decided you were good enough to listen to. He found it amusing you still deluded yourself with the idea that there was still an exit to follow and clues like a headless chicken. He'd used that new material to haunt you. Not that you minded because you're too desperate for an audience to kick him out of your room. Bad day at work? Your response was an incoherent grumble. Was that? Gotta use your words, babe. He prodded your side. Jax's Cheshire grin stretched at you as he steadily placed the pillow and sat up, dejectedly, relishing the way your face scrunched. How charming. How'd it go? He hummed teasingly, relishing in how your face scrunched. Shut up, Jax. I can't deal with you right now. He snapped and gave him the stink eye. Jax raised his arms calmly. Looks like you'd hit a nerve. Hey, you're not the one who's giving the time of day to listen to a sad man's trumpet, he said, squinting. His snark came like second nature. With how moody you were being today, I expected some defiance. Perhaps a badly delivered jab or a sulky pout. To Jax's surprise, you did none of the sort. While you attempted to intimidate with a hard stare, it only lasted briefly before a steely bravado crumbled into what he could only decipher as a look of hurt and shame. Wait, are you crying? Jax gasped in disbelief. You winced and hugged your legs. I'm sorry, you muttered, blinking away tears. This was the first time he's seen you look so vulnerable. I don't know what's going on anymore. I just thought... You paused to breathe, lacking the usual persistence of the usual fervor or ire you carry as the exhaustion weighed your shoulders down. Jax contemplated how this was the smallest you've ever been. You looked nothing like yourself. I know I've dealt with dead ends like this in the past, but this time I really thought I had something to look forward to, something to keep me going in this toy box of a hellscape. And I don't already? He quipped after much consideration. You stared at him, unimpressed. What? It's a genuine question. He threw his arms up dramatically, eyes forming cheeky crescents. Like hell you do. You snorted and rolled your eyes. You got a flicker of mirth in them before they dulled like a candle burning out. But it was really frustrating, you know. These past few weeks, I really thought I was actually making progress. I haven't told you about it. Played myself a fool. Jax would never admit it out loud, but he had grown fond of you. He didn't know when it began, but he'd come to the realization of it one day when he realized he had been observing you too closely. Maybe that's why he felt obligated to do something about your current state. They're there? He patted your back tentatively. He had no idea how this worked. He had a strong urge to pull away and gag at how soft he was being. Jax snuck a glance at your face and... Oh. He stilled. It was like a pin dropped. For a split second, Jax's smile wavered, his fingers twitched. Hazy eyes clouded by desperation and almost manic sense and foreboding dread. They stared into an empty space, as if they were elsewhere, lost. Jax recognized this look. He'd seen it in Wacky, Queenie, Kaufmo. They all wore that face, the exact face, and they all abstracted soon after. The thought of you ending up the same way scared something in him. I think about the number of times I've run into dead ends. It puts me into a crisis. No matter how many times I fall for this, there's always a way out. I think about the number of times I run into dead ends, and it puts me into a crisis. How many times will I fall for this before there's finally a way out? How long until then? What about my family, friends? Will they still be around? You begin muttering to yourself, zoning out. He's losing you. Jax realizes that he could do something. At this rate, you're going to spiral into your insanity and plummet into the negatives. Without much thought, he blurted out, Ever considered stopping? What? You slowly turned to him, eyebrows creased and eyes wide incredulously. Before you say anything, Jax continued. Hear me out. I mean, how long have you been trying to get out of here? 3, 4 years? Yeesh, you'd really thought you've made some progress by now. It sounded harsher than he intended. Jax tried to change his tone as he had spoke, but to no avail. He realized something that he knew about comforting a person. The vocabulary he had used had been fitted to an insult. It was like his words had gone through some kind of sick funhouse mirror. Words that were meant to help seemed to pierce through your spirit instead. You've been running around like a headless chicken. Honestly, it's sad to watch. I'm worried about you. You should give up so you can stop embarrassing yourself further. What you're doing is hurting you. You should take a break. Nothing's gonna happen anyway. It's going to be okay. He knew he should have stopped the second he opened his mouth, but he went on. You were silent by the end of it. Jax cringed internally, his eyes flitting everyone in the room but you. Oh, you said, your tone eerily natural. I guess you're right. Really? Yep, I guess I've been too much trouble for you to deal with, huh? My bad. Jax thought he heard your voice crack. He looked at you. You looked fidgety, holding back, but you still managed to maintain eye contact with him. Oh, by the way, you can go now. You don't have to come back here anymore. The past few nights must have been a waste of time. He waved you off. Nah, you were fun to listen to. You paused and then chuckled. It sounded more like coughing. Really? I'm glad then. But I don't think I'll have anything to talk your ear off since, you gestured frantically. He nodded along, tugging at the straps of his trousers. Jax had a bad feeling. He wanted nothing more than to get out of there, from how tense it was. Right, I guess I'll go now, he muttered, awkwardly getting away from you to open the door. He paused. See you tomorrow, he said. It sounded more like a question. A plead. You don't answer. Instead, you give him a taut smile, which doesn't quite reach up to your eyes. Did little to tame the discomforting lurch in his non-existent stomach. He decided against pointing it out. "'Kay," he said unsurely. "Night." He waved him goodbye. Jax swallowed, trying and failing to set aside his unease. He offered a dubious smile before slipping out of the room and stomped through the halls, ignoring his gut sense that screamed for him to go back. You'll be fine, he told himself instead. The next day, Jax locked eyes with you as you were dropped into the cellar. He blinked and you were gone. He would never see you again. Jax felt numb. His feet wobbled, but he stayed in place. He didn't cry or do anything of that sort. He just stood there, trying to process what had happened. But he already understood. That had been you. The black, multi-eyed mass that had looked nothing like you. It had hit like a truck. He had barely had time to react, reach out, run away before he lost you. If only I'd known, maybe I could have talked to them, he just distantly heard somebody say. His fist clenched and unclenched. You knew this was bound to happen, a voice in the back of his head whispered. Jax knew. He had tried to talk you down, but it ended up being the one who pushed you into your downfall. Just because a chicken has wings doesn't mean it could fly. In the same way, Jax could talk doesn't mean he was capable of helping you. His words had been long used for hurting, that they had lost the ability to comfort. Had it been someone else that night, things would have played out differently? Would you have left the room as yourself? The thought ate him alive. Jax laughed bitterly, uncaring for the attention he drew. This place is hell. Thank you for listening. This is my first fanfic reading. There'll probably be more in the future on this YouTube channel. Have a lovely rest of your day or night.